Hi, I'm Dr. Richard Pan, and I'm running for Mayor of Sacramento. I bring a record of solving problems and getting results. There's a lot of ideas to address our major issues. My priorities are addressing homelessness, being sure we keep people safe, and creating good jobs here in our community. But I also have a record of bringing results in the areas that I've worked on. So for example, when I first came into the state legislature, we had a $28 billion deficit in our state budget. When I left, we had a $30 billion reserve because of the work that was done to stabilize the state budget and then prepare us for the next economic downturn. When I came into the state legislature as a doctor and public health expert, we had 18% of our fellow Californians without health insurance coverage. And people had tried to work on it for decades. When I left, the insurance coverage rate dropped to about 8%. We cut it by more than half. Those are the results that I've been able to deliver on problems people have said were almost impossible to solve. So I know we are facing a crisis in things like homelessness, and it seems like it's overwhelming. But I bring a record of working the problem and getting solutions and results. And that's why I'm running for mayor. Sacramento is such a wonderful community. I moved here after I finished my medical training, got married here, raised my children here. The diversity in our community is amazing. We're one of the most diverse metropolitan areas in the country. And we're also integrated, so we work together. And we have such a richness of cultures here in Sacramento. We're the capital of the largest and most progressive state in the whole country. And so here are the ideas, the policies get crafted here in Sacramento. And the work that we do here, particularly in neighborhoods, I really appreciate as someone who came from a city with strong neighborhoods, when I came to Sacramento to see that here in Sacramento, we had even stronger neighborhoods. You know, people really try to help each other, they help their neighbors. We have this strong neighborhood sense here. And with those strengths, we can overcome our challenges. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is getting our city back on track and then launching us into an even brighter future, because we have that potential. We just need to realize that. Our homeless crisis has spun out of control. And unfortunately, people are frustrated because they're not seeing action from our local leaders, particularly our city leaders. Now, they've tried doing a few things, but too often we hear announcement of ideas and we don't see follow through on those. We also see people bickering with each other. It's time to put an end to that and to get to work. We need to make addressing our homeless crisis a priority. We need to first be sure people who are at risk of being unhoused or who have recently become homeless, get them housed quickly. Those are the folks who are actually going to be the easiest to approach. And we do know that more people are becoming homeless every day, right? We have to stop that part. Then we have our 5,000 chronically homeless on our street. We need to help them be able to get into get them off the streets, into housing, eventually into permanent housing. But for them to succeed, we have to be sure we provide them the supports they need. That includes mental health, substance use help. Now, those are actually funded by the county. So that we need the county and the city to work together in making that happen. When I served in the legislature, I actually chaired the budget committee on health and human services. So I worked closely with the county on being sure that they can fund the types of services that they need. That's what I'm going to do as mayor too, because I actually understand where the county gets the resources from to ensure that they can deliver those services to people who are in Sacramento, including people who are unhoused, so they can be successfully housed. So that's going to be, and then a high priority. Then we need to, of course, increase our supply of housing. We don't have enough housing. Now that's a national problem, that's a state problem as well. We do have a fairly pro-housing city. I appreciate that. But we need to work even harder to get more housing actually constructed or converted. So not everything's about new construction, but we need to get much more housing. So we have places for people to go. We don't have enough places. And we need to bring a particular urgency and focus to this. I think that's the other frustration you hear from people is that we've been talking about this for years. This is not a brand new problem. But yet it seems like there isn't an urgency to actually get results in our city council. And so that's what I'm going to bring. In fact, our city council even recently held a meeting where the city manager begged the city council to prioritize their priorities. Well, I think it's pretty clear as I'm talking to voters across the city that there's general agreement that our top priorities are addressing the homeless issue and keeping people safe. And ultimately, when we talk about safety, it's not good to have people on the streets. It's not good for the person on the street. It's not good for those of us who are having to use public spaces. And in fact, if we cannot maintain order in public spaces, we cannot have the confidence of the people. And in fact, because we haven't been doing that, city government has lost the confidence of the people of Sacramento. And I will change that. My goal is to maximize the amount of housing that's produced, including affordable housing. So we have to look at, for example, the cost of constructing the housing and what can the city do to lower those costs, right? So some of the things the city can do, as a small business owner, I know that uncertainty and time costs money, right? So our city processes for things like permitting and approvals, we should make those more efficient. Right? We don't need one city department telling a builder one thing and then the other city department telling them they need to do something different and that builder not knowing which one to follow, right? We need to clear that up for people, okay? We also need to look at the fees we're charging because every fee that we add on, of course, gets passed on. And so that raises the cost of housing. We also should look at ways the city can help finance in its role housing, realizing there's a lot of constraints there, but we should be looking at what the city can do to help finance, not even just directly, but what we can bring people together to finance the construction of more housing so that we actually deliver those results. Because ultimately, what counts in the end is we actually have the housing. So that's going to be my goal. It's like, what do we need to do to actually get the housing created, whether it's building new housing, converting existing buildings to housing. That is what I'm going to work on to be sure that we have the housing we need for the people who need it. Well, I'm proud to be endorsed by our District Attorney Tien Ho because he knows I will be a good partner for him in addressing crime, right? I appreciate the fact that he's already called out the need for more order in our public spaces. And I know that he's working with Sheriff Cooper, Police Chief Lester on addressing retail crime. He needs a mayor, and our police chief needs a mayor who is going to have their back, right? I'm a public health professional. We're going to let's look at the metrics, let's look at the facts and do what we can to address that. Now, certainly there's policies that have occurred in the state that may make things more challenging, but you know what? We still got to work the problem, right? And frankly, when people don't think that the city cares about order in our public spaces, that we tolerate blight, that doesn't create an environment where people think that other laws should not be violated as well, right? And so I think part of what we need to do is send the signal to people that we do want people to be orderly, that we want to keep our city clean, we don't want to have blight, and then at the same time, because we talked about violent crime being down, we want to partner with communities, right? To give people opportunities, to engage our youth in ways so that they are not drawn into activities that might pull them into crime as well, right? And in fact, I appreciate the work that's been done that's leading to the decrease in violent crime, where we are engaging our youth who, by the way, can be contributors to our community. Too often they're viewed as the problem. No, they can contribute to our community, right? That we can work with all our neighborhoods to build bonds that make people proud of our city, proud of their neighborhood. And with that pride comes a desire not to cause harm, which is what crime does. I'm going to be very focused on addressing our public safety and homeless issue, right? So that's going to be my first priorities. We're going to be very focused on making progress on that. But as we make progress on that, we got to continue to expand economic opportunities here in the city. In fact, I bring a strong record of creating economic opportunities in Sacramento from my time in the legislature. So, for example, we have a new medical school here in Sacramento, California North State. They're planning to build a teaching hospital. That's going to potentially bring over $1 billion, maybe $2 billion of economic impact per year when that's fully built out, right? That's a tremendous economic opportunity that creates excellent jobs, right? I worked to bring Centene, which is a Fortune 100 company, to open the regional headquarters here in Sacramento, right? Again, we haven't done that in a very long time. And so I was actually the one who first got them here to Sacramento. When we think about Aggie Square, right? When I was in the legislature and Chancellor Katehi stepped down and UC was seeking a new chancellor, I called up President Napolitano and I told her, I need UC Davis to come over the causeway. Too many students who go to UC Davis and too many faculty at UC Davis never come to Sacramento. They never come to Sacramento. And we need UC Davis to come over to Sacramento. Now, I worked at the Med Center. I was there for 12 years. So we already have that in Sacramento, but we need to expand that beyond that, right? And so Chancellor Napolitano agreed that the search committee, which normally only stays on main campus over at Davis, would actually come to Sacramento to meet with Sacramento leaders for us to have a conversation about how UC Davis could come over to Sacramento and what we could get from our next chancellor. And I'm really thrilled that we got Chancellor May, who has delivered on that. He's delivered on that, and now we're having Aggie Square in Sacramento. And that's going to create tremendous opportunities, not just economically with jobs, but also, when you bring the faculty and students over, as a doctor, I worked at the med school, I look at medical school applications, I see students talk about how they go out in the community and tutor kids in communities, right? And lead grassroots efforts, right, to improve and strengthen community. In fact, we do have some of that here with the student-run clinics at UC Davis. But when we have more students coming over here, there's more opportunities to engage them. And then when they graduate, since they spent time here, they're more likely to actually stay in Sacramento because UC Davis is our main research university. Now, I do not want to forget Sac State, which has done an amazing job being here in Sacramento, but we need the power of both universities to do that. And so to help, again, promote the entrepreneurship, the opportunities for our city. So those are just a few things I can keep going in terms of economic development that I've already actively engaged in as your legislator, and I will do even more as your mayor. I'm someone who has worked in not just the public sector, right? So I have not just been an elected official and lobbyist and switched between the two. I'm someone who's actually, pursued a career working with not-for-profits as a doctor, as well as doing public service. And I think that's a little different, perhaps, than some of the other candidates who are running for mayor. So, for example, I continued to see patients. I still see patients in Oak Park, now at the Sacramento County Health Center, previously at WellSpace. And people ask me, so why are you still seeing patients? I said, well, when I was in the legislature, I said, look, in the beginning of the week, I shape the rules. I vote on the laws. I have hearings. At the end of the week, I actually live by them with the families I see. Those families are not seeing Senator Pan. They're seeing Dr. Pan. They're not lobbying me for anything. They have a child who they want help for. And I work with them on that. It's really important to see the front lines. I serve on our United Way board. We're actually working on getting people housed through the CalAIM program, right? We're running a universal basic income program, okay? So I've also worked at the not-for-profit sector on innovations to help people in our community. So I am someone who doesn't just say government is the only answer, but also says, look, I also devote my time on the volunteer, not-for-profit side, personally, to try to help people and mobilize our community to help people in need. So that's what I'm also going to bring to being mayor of the city of Sacramento. Someone who doesn't see government as the only solution, but certainly government's part of it, but not the only solution. And we'll seek to be sure we have strong partnerships with not-for-profits, our business community, others to solve the problems that our city is struggling with.